Welcome again. It's episode 6, season 1 of 0xPoland, and we're getting closer and closer to the finale of first season. So before we start today's episode, I want to remind you for the last time that we're doing this thing, the Hackathon 0xHack, and we're starting this Friday. So there is no more excuses not to join. And a quick reminder, our prize pool grew from 40,000 to 60,000 in last month. And we have so many great sponsors, so many great partners. We have Golem, we have Polygon, Status, Ethworks, that's us, Hermes, Ramp, and Chainlink, all joining us, adding bounties so that you can win great prizes. So the list of speakers have grown, and I can tell you that it's not even the final list of speakers, but even now you can find people from Ethereum Foundation, from very best top startups in the Ethereum space. And here's a quick reminder about the schedule. We start this Friday. There is an opening weekend, 2 weeks of hacking, and grand finale starts at the very last day of this month. So Friday, 5 p.m., opening ceremony, prize presentation by sponsors, and opening panel. And on the weekend, for everyone that is still doubting about his blockchain skills, you don't need to have experience in blockchain to join the hackathon. Just join us for the weekend, and there is whole weekend of workshops that will allow you to learn everything about the blockchain that you need to know to attend the hackathon. And without further ado, go to 0xHack.dev, click join now, or you can go straight from Gitcoin, gitcoin.co/hackathon/0xHack. And you can also join us on Discord if you have any questions or anything you would like to know, just hit bit.ly/0xchat. And now back to 0xPoland. I would like to give a shout out to our great media partners, to CryptoDev.tv and to Zrozumieć Bitcoina. And thank you guys for helping us building this great community. And now we are finally getting to our today's topic. So today we have two speakers. You have Justyna Broniszewska from Ethworks, and she is going to tell you just in a second about how to best build Dapps, distributed application based on blockchain. And after that, Artur Kozak will be joining us to talk about working with all the different various blockchain, different than Ethereum itself. So in just few seconds, after a quick few seconds break, Justyna is gonna rejoin, so get ready.
Hello, welcome to my presentation about building Dapp like a pro. And I'm Justyna Broniszewska, I'm from Ethworks, and let's start from some basics. What is Dapp actually? Dapp is acronym from decentralized application, and this is an application that runs on distributed computing system. And an example of such system is Ethereum blockchain. And in general, such application has no central server. And as a web developer, you don't have to worry about that, like in general, that this is a distributed computing system, because you will have API and you can treat it like just basic server or so. And here we have examples of such APIs. And first we have Alchemy and Infura. These are like the most popular ones. And okay, so we have two different blockchain calls. First is read call, and it is like free call, and you can read the state of the blockchain using this type of call. And the second one is write call, and you need to pay for it because you change the state of the blockchain, and it also requires wallet connection. So it requires a private key. And here we have an example of such calls. So the first one is read call, and here we just check the balance of this contract, this address. And the second one is write call, and here we just send transaction to this 0xB1 address. And here we change the state of the blockchain, so we pay for it. And yes, so like here are the basics that we need to remember when developing application about the blockchain state. So it works like mining blocks. So like the state might change each 50 seconds because this is the time we mining blocks. And so like we need to update our application really often, ideally each new block, because we want to have like updated state each time. And like typical application is really complex because it interacts with a lot of smart contracts, and that's why we need to update state really frequently because of these mining blocks. So even 50 calls each 15 seconds, so it is like 12,000 calls per hour. So it's like a lot of calls. And here we have leading API provider pricing. And as you can see, you have only 100,000 requests per day for free. But if you want more, then you need to pay for it. And we have such mechanism called multi-call, and it can help you with that big amount of calls. And multi-call is just calls aggregator. It's simple smart contract, and it allows you to join calls in batch. You can see a code of this smart contract on the bottom, and it allows you to join up to 50 calls in one batch. And it also guarantees you that all values are from the same block. So that's really cool. And how it works. Without multi-call, you just perform a lot of different calls to specific smart contract. With multi-call, you just provide one single call and to multi-call, of course, and then multi-call does it for you. So it will call each smart contract directly to get data you want, and it's simpler and more efficient. So let's summarize. Our Dapp requirements are like this. We should refresh state each new block, so ideally each 15 seconds. We should care about consistent state, so we should take data from the same block. And we should also care about efficiency of our application, because we shouldn't spam API with requests. So it's it's a lot of things to do, but surprise, use Dapp does it all for you. And yes, so that's the library that we created here at Ethworks, and it can help you develop decentralized applications really easy. So let's start from some code I prepared from our documentation. And here we have an example how to connect to a network. Because as I said before, we have two types of calls. We have read call and write call. And to provide write call, we need to connect to a wallet. So here in this example, we are using useIters function from use the app library, and it returns activate browser wallet and also account. Account is just address of the account that is connected, and activate browser wallet is a function that will trigger pop-up from MetaMask, and user can connect to our application with this. And after user clicks connect, we have account address in useIters function. And that's how we can connect to a network and connect to a user wallet. And then we have another example of how to get Ether balance. And it's also really easy. We can get account from useIters, as I said before, and then we can use Ether balance function from use Dapp as well, and it gets only one parameter, and that's the address of account we want to get address, and it returns address. So that's how we can do it. And then let's go to another example. We have token allowance here, and probably these of you that knows ERC20, you probably know this allowance mechanism. So here is how we can implement it using Dapp. So we have token address and then spender address. So token address is just token address that we want to check allowance, and then we can use useIters to get account, and finally we have use token allowance. So it's also from use Dapp library, and here we have 3 different parameters. First of it is token address we want to call, then we have account address, and then spender address, and then we get allowance for this spender address from account. Great. So before we start using these functions, we need to remember that we need to wrap our whole application with this Dapp provider. So this is just simple configuration of this library. We will need config object, and this is a really simple object that has might be more parameters, but here we have 2 basic because we also don't only want to user to connect our wallet to the application, but we also want to have read-only mode. So to have this read-only mode, we need to add this configuration, and that is only read-only chain ID and read-only URLs. For example, Infura URL. So this is how it looks like. Okay, and now we can go to live coding. It's just a simple video that I recorded 1 hour ago, because as we all know, live coding never works live. So yeah, let's just see this video and I will tell you what happens there. Okay, so here we have on the left side we have the code, and on the right side we have a browser, and it shows everything we see in our applications. And we are starting from configuring our Dapp provider, and yeah, we are wrapping our application with Dapp provider. We create config, and the same as in documentation. And now we have this all of it configured. We can now start using functions from use Dapp. Let's start from checking Ether balance of interesting address, and we just need to import use Ether balance from use Dapp. Okay, we can do that this way, and then we just need to pass address, interesting as address, in this to this function, and then we can show it in our application. Okay, we need to also make sure that this balance exists. Okay, and then we just need to stringify it, and yeah, and tada, we have Ether balance in Veil. Great. So now we can try to get DAI balance as well. So yeah, we just need to use different function. this is use token balance. We also need to import it from useDapp core. Okay, we need to provide address we want to check, and also die address. So the address, the contract address, we want to like the token address actually. Okay, and now we can also show it in our UI. And we should also like check that it exists and then show it. Okay, great. Now we should see it. Great. We can also format it somehow that we don't see magic numbers way, but we see it as it is. Okay, we need to add as any because TypeScript doesn't know that it's big number, but we know that it is, so we can add this magic formula. Okay, we import format units from Ethers project. And ta-da, you should see it now. Yes, great. It's not a nice formatting. Now we can make sure that these numbers are valid. So let's go to, let's copy this address and go to Etherscan to make sure that everything works. Okay, and you can see balance in Ether is the same, actually. Yeah, it's the same. Now let's go to die balance. It's also the same. So it works great. And as you can see, in 3 minutes, we just prepared like we write like basic implementation of our application, and that's incredible because like you see, like we check 2 different information, but it's, everything is in one single call to multi-call, and it also updates each 50 seconds, each new block. So that's also like really great. So you see, it was never easier. So I hope you will use it and enjoy it. And thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, and hopefully see you in Hackathon.
Justyna right now. Good. I think we still have like a few more minutes for till the next presentation. So let's see if we have any questions that we might want to answer. In the meantime, if we didn't advertise the hackathon enough times yet, I want to say that probably in the background you can see that our studio for the hackathon is almost ready. So yeah, join the hackathon. Let's see if we have any interesting questions. Okay, so I wonder how to find remote job as full stack blockchain developer. Okay, now someone asking me to advertise hackathon one more time. I'm sorry, I was triggered. I didn't wanna do it. But if you're looking for a job in the blockchain, I think you should really consider joining the hackathon. There's gonna be at least 10 different sponsors. I think majority of them is hiring. It's a great place to show your skills and just meet people and see how to and figure out how to join one of those companies or figure out what are the different companies on the market that are hiring.
Yeah, actually my journey started from hackathon, so it was not this hackathon, but a different hackathon. So yeah.
Recommended by Justyna.
Yeah.
Let's see if we have any other questions. Oh, okay. This is really, yeah. So I'm looking. Can you show the question just a little bit longer? I'm looking for a developer to help me with my project. Can you please contact me on Telegram? So, well, we advertise your Telegram here, but again, I think
you can join Hackathon.
You can join Hackathon, but this is exactly what we do in Hackathon. So we know there are people out there who would like to break into blockchain space. They either have ideas for the projects, or they already built something and they're looking for the first job. So, so yeah, join us on Friday. Maybe you want to hack this project together with other people. Maybe you want to build a team. That sounds like something we could again try to do on Hackathon. Do we have any other questions? I think we're out of questions, but we still have a few more minutes. Oh, here comes another question. What I need to know to join the hackathon? So we have a make more advanced clusters. So there's more questions are coming. Excellent. So what I need to join Hackathon? Well, you don't really need to know much about blockchain at all. If you're a programmer, just join our weekend courses, and you will learn everything you need, all the basic knowledge about how to code blockchain. If you're not a programmer, I think there's still a lot of opportunities for other people like designers, product owners, testers, maybe marketing people as well, and join the teams and figure out how to help them build projects. We had a great discussion today with Piotr Mieszurek, who is one of our media partners, and we were just thinking what are the different things that can be built on a hackathon by a beginner. And we came up with a number of different ideas, and the ideas were allowed building all kinds of dashboards. You can literally go through lists of sponsors, and a lot of them build great technologies, and there's a lot of things happening under the hood, but it's not so obvious if you want to have some basic statistics and understand what's going on. Oftentimes it's not so obvious, right? And what does it mean when I say dashboard, right? So for example, CoinMarketCap is a dashboard with prices, right? And the CoinMarketCap was sold to Binance for $500 million, right? So that's something that very simple project that could have started on a hackathon. Now there is a lot of other projects like the DeFi pools that shows what's going on with DeFi. There's some DeFi Llama, I think, that is competitor of DeFi pools. Then there is L2Bit that shows what's going on layer 2. Then there is another dashboard that shows how tokens are given the ERC20 token, how much that is on layer 1, how much of that is on layer 2, and so on and so forth. So there is like infinite number of dashboards that seems to be needed. So it's really one way to go. And another way to go is just building interface, all those under the hood technologies that sponsors are building. So yeah, really just reserve a little bit of time and prepare for fun and learn. I think that's all you really need, and of course the willingness to learn more about blockchain. I think we have a few more questions. Can you build a Uniswap? I think not FAQ, but fork DAO tutorial. Sure, I guess so. There is a lot of bounties. If you can find a bounty that will match this, I can already think about a few, including one that comes from us that is building USDApp tutorial. So exactly, you can take what you learned today from Justyna, build such a tutorial based on interface for Uniswap or forked Uniswap. I don't know exactly how the idea, in which direction the idea goes, but yeah, absolutely. I think all those kind of things are sounds like good ideas. Liquidity pool DAO fork from Uniswap with arbitrage. I think that was the full idea. Yeah. Sure. Let's see. How would one company benefit from going full-blown blockchain? Rumors are that will be mainstream. However, current gas prices are returned impossible. Oh, that's a long one. You want to take that one, or?
Yeah, actually, we are going to have layer 2 soon, so gas prices are not that not that tricky anymore. So
we expect the prices to get better. If anything, the prices were really low last few weeks, and they jumped again a few days ago, and now it's again very expensive. But I think also when new technology comes, like blockchain, it takes a little figuring out what you can build with that. And those, like oftentimes when new technology comes, like think about smartphones, right? They came around 10 years ago. If you think about, I think maybe 12 or 13 now. If you think about smartphones back in the days, and people say, this is like a personal computer, and then like, yeah, but how do I put my big old spreadsheet into that little smartphone, right? But then that was not important about smartphone that the spreadsheet wouldn't fit. The important thing was that there was camera and there was GPS and accelerometer, so we can do things like Uber or Instagram that you never ever could build without smartphones with computers, right? And with blockchain, it's all about trust, right? You have this. You don't need to trust anyone. Whatever you code on this distributed computer, gonna work exactly this way, right? So the key to build something successful in blockchain is finding how we can mitigate, how we can leverage this new kind of trust into building something. And we see that so far it worked really well for finances or for art, but there's probably more. Yeah, but let's jump to the next question. You went wild in the comments. Now we had just 2 questions. Now I can count. I don't know if we will be able to answer all of them, but let's try at least a few more. When is the hackathon? Is it online event or are there also option to come in person? So it's an online event. It's mainly due to COVID restrictions, which seems to be relaxing now, but I think by this Friday they're gonna relax to a point where we can make a mass event. So we even had the backup plan to allow some people to come, but it seems that ain't gonna be the case. But it starts this Friday. It's fully online. You can join us Friday 5 p.m. But first, just make sure to join the hackathon. All you need to do is go to the website, click join us, log in with GitHub, and you're on. You're registered, and you can watch everything, and you can apply for the bounties. Let's see. You should. Where should I store big data in the Dapp? You should not store big data in the Dapp. Although there are now technologies like decentralized file systems that are coming through, like IPFS, like Filecoin. So if you want to build something like with massive storage, then check them out and see. We didn't check them for a while, but the rumors are they kind of working these days. It was not the case a year ago when we were looking at them. Okay, and I think is that a signal that it's the last question? Yeah. So I'm not a programmer. I have written a WP for I don't know what WP stands for in this case, for a DeFi interest rate derivative protocol built on compound supply rate. My background is in derivative trading. How can I help some developer? So if you have an idea for the protocol, I guess a WP might be a white paper in this context. So it's definitely not a WordPress. So if you have an idea for protocol, just join the protocol, create your project, and try to attract people. You can do that by describing it well on Git, and you can do it by joining us on Discord. And on Friday we'll start. There is a channel for finding a team. It's gonna become, I believe, more active on Friday. So just try to find a team, and just it might be the way to build your very first prototype or MVP of the product. And there is more questions, but unfortunately we'll need to start the next presentation. But there's gonna be a networking session at the very end. So if someone have a question and wants that to be answered, just make sure you join us on the networking session at the very end. And now Artur from Ramp is joining us, and he will talk about how is it to build things for many different blockchains. So without further ado, Artur. And here he comes. Hey, Artur.
Hello. Can you hear me well?
We hear you loud and clear. You can start.
Okay. My name is Artur. I'm the lead developer at Ramp. So maybe 2 words about what is Ramp before I start my presentation, because it's all connected. Ramp is a widget where you can buy cryptocurrencies using traditional fiat currencies, and there's quite a lot of them available. So obviously, in some cases, we need to connect to different kinds of blockchains, and that's what's motivated this presentation. because I want to share some stories about integrating some blockchains that were not so simple as they seemed at the start. To recap, what does it mean to integrate a blockchain in, at least in our context? What does it mean to use a blockchain in some popular use cases? The most common thing is sending assets. On Ethereum, it will be sending Ether. It's the most basic operation you can think of. Or tokens, which is quite similar. You just need to connect to a smart contract instance and trigger its method. It's really similar to send Ether. You just do it on a different entity. You trigger a transfer method. So you say how much you want to transfer and where, and it's done. Second, or you can do a custom transaction that does something different. Second most basic operation is to check the balance of such assets after you transfer them. It's also done in a very simple way on Ethereum, and not only on Ethereum, but also on any EVM compatible chains. That is, for example, Matic, which is now named Polygon chain, Fuse network, and many other L2 or sidechain solutions that appeared recently. Checking the balance is also done in a really simple way. You just call the provider to tell you what's the balance on your wallet or on someone else's wallet, or you call the contract to tell you what is the token balance for some address of this token. And the third most trivial operation you actually do on the blockchain is checking transaction status, because after you send the transaction, you need to make sure it is mined and it has enough confirmations so you can continue with other steps in your app that depend on those tokens being transferred. And in Ethereum, it's also quite simple. All the examples I use are using the Ethers.js library. It's very well typed, so it's just a matter of seeing through the interface functions, and you can see that you can just call the provider to get you a transaction. And it includes all the useful information. For example, when it was mined, how many confirmation it has, or if you call for a transaction receipt, you can get all the internal details about the transaction execution if you need. Okay, so that's how regular blockchains work. All the other blockchains share the similar concepts, but connecting to them is not always the same. One of the prime examples I encountered is Tezos. It is quite a nice blockchain, actually. It's one uncommon thing you notice about it from the start as a dev is that it's not written in any popular language like Rust, Go, and C++. Or something, but all the nodes and all the internal tooling is written in OCaml, which is a functional language, not as strict as Haskell, but also really cool. So let's see how we'll be able to use it. To send XTZ, which is the Tezos chain internal currency like Ether for Ethereum, you just need to call the wallet to transfer some tokens to a destination address. Sounds really simple. But then when I checked, I waited for the transaction hash to be mined. I got an error. And what is this? I didn't do nothing. The application just sent the transaction, and then exactly 10 seconds later, the whole application crashed. Maybe I need to await for the transfer confirmation, because that was the most obvious thing looking at the interface of the transaction results that I received from the library. But not. The transaction also failed in the same way. It's not that the transaction failed, it's that my whole application crashed. Luckily, it turned out that my code was correct, and this was a glitch in their test development node, collaborating improperly with their JavaScript TypeScript library. So it needed some adjustments. After some help from the team, I managed to get it to work. But it was like a foreshadowing that it's not a simple blockchain to use. I tried checking the balance. Surprisingly, it's really easy and it works. So let's move on. How do we check the transaction status? After reviewing the interface of the Tezos chain provider that I've got from the library, I see a create operation method. Transactions are called operations in Tezos, so it is the obvious thing to do, but it doesn't work. Someone from Tezos team told me that you need to await confirmation or check the status on a transaction that you posted, because the method that I tried to use is some internal thing. Yeah, but this poses a problem. While it works, it only allows us to check the transaction status of a transaction that we just posted, which is not convenient, because what if the transaction is mining for like over a few minutes and our backend is restarted, either by accident or by a new version releasing? Or what if, in some cases, we send a transaction manually, and then we just need to input it into the system, but we still want the system to verify that transaction is correct and mined. And turns out it's impossible. The standard toolkit for connecting to Tezos in TypeScript is just has no means to check if a transaction is already mined. That was really surprising, and my face looked like exactly like this dog when I learned of this. The suggestion was that we either should run a full node with indexer of all transactions, or check manually the latest 10 or 100 blocks if our transactions is there. And both of those things are things that you don't really need to do if you just want to check a few transaction hashes on any other blockchain that I know. So that was quite a disappointment. But in the end, we all managed to do it. Tezos is now available on Ramp. We don't actually need to search through all the blocks to check the transaction status. So it's running smoothly. But that's only the native currency of the Tezos chain. What about tokens? They have a token standard called FA2 that's similar to Ethereum's ERC20, but like better. It actually is better because they support operation batching, and they have some really new cool ideas that ERC20 missed because it was the first and token standard, and maybe it had some issues at first. But then we start looking for the description of the standard and how do we call methods of the contract. And the screens that I pasted here are the only specifications. There is this Lisp-like definition of what do you need to pass to the method, and that's all. So I had to do much guesswork about how do I even check the balance or send a token transfer. I tried to, having some background in functional programming, I thought this shouldn't be that hard, but whatever I tried, I couldn't find a way to correctly pass arguments to the library so that they would get accepted. So again, I needed to seek help from the Tezos team and landed with something like this. It turns out that the argument lists need to be passed as arrays, but the argument pairs are not really pairs when you call the contract, but JavaScript objects with named components. And also there's this mysterious parameter called token ID, which I think means that a single FA2 contract can hold many different types of tokens and with some complicated governance and subtypes and subwallets. But most tokens don't just use it; they hold a single token, so it's 0. Great, we managed to send tokens to someone. Same story with checking the balance. I needed to just to properly send the arguments. Yeah, but it's also, as you see, not really easy to just pass the arguments. You need to select the views on the contract. Then there's this magically untyped function, and then you need to read from the view. And it was also really not obvious that even to read from a contract, you need to configure a signer wallet on the library. Otherwise, you get really confusing errors as if you passed the arguments in a bad way. Yeah, but let's not dwell into that too much. We now sell USDS tokens on Tezos too with our ramp widget. Yep, let's jump to the next blockchain that I wanted to describe, which is Flow. It is a really new blockchain. It's designed to be super fast. If you want to check it out, go to onflow.org, I believe. It's designed to be high throughput and, I mean, really high, like thousands of transactions per second. And it advertises that CryptoKitties run on them. So this should be a cool blockchain, right? And it really is. It has nice documentation. One of its best features is the transaction flow on the Flow blockchain. It's something that I wanted to showcase here, because in all the other blockchains, you have a private key, and you use the same key to prepare to send. You use one key to send a transaction to the blockchain. But here you have 3 different keys that take part in the transaction initiation process. You have a proposer key that prepares the transaction contents. You then have a authorization key that authorizes that code to be executed on their wallet, on their permissions. And then you have a third key that's called the sender, I believe. And that final key is the one that actually posts the transaction to the chain, and that also is the key that needs to have the gas funds to execute that transaction, so he pays for the execution. And that is something really nice. It allows this feature allows us to separate the concerns for different keys in our system. For example, you don't need to you can separate the key that holds the funds that you send to your users, which would be the authorization key here, or the payload key. You can separate this from the technical wallet that needs gas funds, and it doesn't. So the gas wallet doesn't need to hold Oriole wealth. So it's more secure in many ways. And that's not all this chain has to offer, because it has built-in multi-signature wallets. Every account can have an arbitrary number of keys connected, and also those accounts can have different weights. So you can configure your account to allow, for example, only executing a transaction if you have 3 keys with all having weight of 1/2. You can configure it this way to achieve traditional 2 out of 3 multi-signature wallet. Or, for example, you can have 10 keys, all with weight 1, which means all 10 keys are approved to execute transactions for this account. And there are even more complicated schemes that you can configure there, and it allows you to have better scalability, better governance of your app internally. But it doesn't come without drawbacks. We will get back to that. So how do we use this flow? Let's start with the basic operation of checking balance of the native token, because that's always the thing that is the simplest. And it actually is the simplest. You just get account and decode the response about your account. You have the balance right there. But what about sending the native token? It stops being easy there. The native token is also handled as a arbitrary fungible token interface. That's actually very nice, because in Ethereum and other blockchains, you often need to differentiate between the native coin like Ether and the other coins tokens like DAI and so on. So all the places in your system need a switch to know which kind of asset it is. And here, even the native asset implements the token interface. So that's actually nice. But what you see on the screen is what they call a cadence script. Cadence is their language, their smart contract language. But it's not only a smart contract language, it's also used to interact with the blockchain. And the uncommon thing about Flow blockchain is that you do all your interactions using this cadence language. So even the simplest token transfer is done using this script. And it requires, like you see, a dozen or more lines of code to just transfer a few tokens to someone, and this is the simplest native token. It allows for very flexible use cases, but in my opinion, this is going too far, and simple things should be simple. Let's see how it goes for them later. And you might think this is all. This is not all. You also need to send that transaction. That was only the cadence template that you need to insert into the blockchain. That also requires a few steps but that's acceptable, because that's implied from the transaction structure that I discussed before, that you have 3 keys that needs to sign the transaction before it can be posted. But also here you can clearly see that this is a new thing. The library to JavaScript is their main library, and the documentation is growing, let's say. And the library itself is also in its first steps. For example, to even send a transaction, we need to manually sign the payload. And signing the payload is like the first thing you would write when writing a blockchain handbook library, and you must do it yourself. But hey, it's flexible. Yeah, let's see how the other concepts translate to this flow blockchain. Let's check a transaction status. That's actually quite simple. And indeed it is. You just need to know some magic numbers. For example, 4 means the transaction is executed. Yeah, but let's talk about key management in sending transaction. So let's go back to sending transactions in the flow blockchain. You see here, it's there is a parameter called key index, and that's because there is one more hidden quirk when sending flow transactions. There are transaction nonces, like on Ethereum, that when you send transactions, you must increment the nonce, and each new transaction needs to have one by one the next sequential number to be accepted on the chain. The problem is that you can't queue multiple transactions like that. Basically, a new transaction can't be sent from the same key until the previous one is mined. So that kind of defeats the purpose of having a sequence, a queue, and so on. And the official solution for this is to manually hold a pool of keys, keep track of which one of them is used currently, and then on a rotation basis, you just initiate one transaction from one key, the second from the second key, and then when you run out of keys, you just wait or get more keys. Which is not that simple, because all keys need to be activated on chain. And that also requires a few lines of cadence script and a separate transaction. And this concept is also carried on to handling tokens. This is a token balance checking script. It's already kind of long. So you can already expect how does sending tokens look. This is the script to send tokens. But it's not all, because if destination address is using this token for the first time, you first must create a vault, which is like a sub wallet for this particular address on this for this recipient. So this is another script. Yeah, lots of manual work, but for now we're hopeful that this blockchain really does what it is designed to do, which is run fast. Victory. We managed to start a transaction, check it, and confirm our balance on the flow blockchain. Yeah, and that's the end of the demo. But let's not finish on a negative note. Both those blockchains that I showcased here are very nice. They're very flexible. They implement protocols that allow to vote for upgrades of the internal protocol, even the consensus protocol, which is nice. They allow higher throughputs. They have very many security ideas that are done better. They just need to grow the libraries a bit. So the one takeaway here is that if you write software, please make it easy to use for others. Do a corridor test. Make someone use your app. Make a developer integrate your software and see how much does he struggle. And also the second takeaway is that you need to sometimes get help from others. Both the teams of Tezos and Flow are very nice people. They are very helpful. They helped us to finish our work in time, and they are happy that we got them integrated. And we are happy that we can operate on those chains, and hopefully on many more. And it's all for me. Let's go back to questions and next steps.
Hey Artur, thank you very much for the presentation. Let's wait. I don't think we have any questions yet, so let's wait a little bit and see. Artur, as you were working with different blockchains, what's your favorite one?
Ethereum, obviously. Ethereum had time to, it was the first blockchain that allowed you to do more than gambling, like Bitcoin, and paying in the internet, in the dark internet. So Ethereum was the first one, and I think it grew the most. It actually outgrew itself. That's why we have gas problems and scaling problems and so on. But I still like how easy it is to use, but still it is expressive. You can do whatever you want with smart contracts, and Ethereum had time to get actual tooling that has examples, communities, documentation, and typings, and so on.
Well, glad to hear that you picked that one as an answer, but I wonder, you mentioned Tezos, those other blockchains, but do you see other things coming that you would like to try or that you see to be very promising?
I don't follow every new blockchain that pops out, because when Ethereum first came out, I was surprised that new blockchains still come to the world. Because if Ethereum was Turing complete, then what do you need anything else? It's like IP protocol and web apps. So you only need one internet, one IP protocol, and you can run all the apps you want on this. But it's nice to see that there's still stuff to do to improve and to explore new ideas and new blockchains.
It doesn't seem there are any messages, any questions coming. So I think we could go to networking just in a moment. I think I had one more question, but now I lost it, about the blockchains. Yeah. Oh yeah, I wanted to ask about Binance Chain. Do you have any opinions about Binance Chain?
Binance Chain. The BNB one or the BSC one? They have to.
Maybe you could start with explaining what the difference is. So
but Binance has two chains of their own. The first one is BNB, and I believe it might even not be a blockchain, because it's completely internalized. We don't know anything about its architecture, and they mainly use it to store their own reward tokens on it. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's not even a blockchain, but just a database. But it might be actually a blockchain. We just don't know anything about it. The second one is more interesting. It's called Binance Smart Chain, BSC. And it is actually EVM compatible. I don't know if it is a direct copy of Ethereum, or if it is upgraded for their needs. But it looks like at least it is a proper blockchain, though it's controlled by a single entity. They have all the nodes. So theoretically, they could intercept your funds there, but they already can, because if you transact on Binance, they hold your funds for some time. So I think people trust them enough to use their own blockchain.
Wonderful, Artur. We actually have a question coming. Let's display it. I wanna say we don't get a lot of questions about presentations today. More about how to start, which we are super thrilled to see as well, because we started the 0xPoland thing and 0xHack thing just to get more people on board. So I'm gonna read the question and let Artur answer it. What resources would you recommend for someone with a technical background wanting to get into the blockchain development professionally? No better person to answer that question than Artur.
Yeah. Before you tell that, you should go to the 0xHack. Which is actually a good idea. We will hold a few presentations about introducing people to blockchain there. But if you want to start, my guess would be first read the white paper of Ethereum. It's called white paper because it was originally released as an actual paper, but now it's just on Ethereum Foundation wiki. Why I recommend it is that it's very well redacted, it's easy to read, and it's the first document describing the history and reasons why blockchain was first created. It even has a short description of why Bitcoin was created, and then what Bitcoin lacked, why Ethereum was needed, and how did they solve all those issues. And it's a nice introduction to what blockchains are. And then as a first technical step, I would recommend to choose a framework for your chosen blockchain. It doesn't have to be Ethereum. And find some example app, find the development node, run all the software on your computer, and try to add some new cool feature to the demo app that you downloaded. Because I think that learning by combat is the best way to start in blockchain. And if you get stuck, there are lots of tutorials, articles, and communities that can help.
Wonderful. Well, nothing to add, nothing to subtract. So I propose we move to networking. Can we see what is the address of the of our Discord? So one more time, bit.ly/0xchat. See you there. Artur, will you be able to join us for a bit?
Yeah, I will be there for some time.
Wonderful. So guys, thank you very much for joining us today, and see you on Discord. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thank you for inviting me.
Our pleasure. Bye.